two flying biscuits. um, so basically, this video will be showing you how to make the cheapest um, engine stand, basically. And I'm not making one from scratch or anything like that. Basically, it's just cheaper to do it this way than to buy a complete setup, the whole rig and everything, and that holds the radiator and stuff like that. This will be just the basics that you need to get it started and to check for any leaks or anything that might be a problem when it's in the car, because it's a lot easier, especially on headers, big long headers like this, to mess with it right now instead of when it's in the car, because then this could be leaking, you couldn't see it, especially with between the power steering pump and or power steering and the passenger side interference fender. It's kind of hard to see, but this will work for anything as long as you are able to bolt it um, the right way, especially where the flywheel will be. And then also with this is you'll be buying like a Harbor Freight engine stand, and then you'll be buying you need a couple jacks to hold the engine on the bottom, and then you need a flywheel because, or at least with my application, well, pretty much I think with anything you'll need a flywheel if you're with this setup, because on a manual, that's why a flywheel. So you actually, the expenses kind of useless in the end when if you're going to go with the automatic transmission like I am. But basically for me, I bought this engine used, but it was rebuilt, redone. But I didn't know exactly what needed to be done or how good it was going to run or anything like that. So I was like, instead of spending all that money and then putting it in the car and everything like that, I was going to spend the money on buying a flywheel, which was about 130 bucks or something like that. And then the engine stand, which is like another 100 bucks. And then basically the wiring and stuff's very cheap. And then all the other stuff I need, it'll come with it, or we'll have it on when it's in the car. But like I said, basically flywheel, because actually goes to for a manual application, but for a automatic transmit or setup like I'm going with, it'll need a flywheel. But like I said, so it's kind of useless, but it'll work if you want to do it like this. Because if you didn't, then you'd have to have it sticking out with a transmission connected to it, and that won't work on this stand. Um, and then also you'll need a starter adapter, which I'll show you later in a sec. So you don't have to have the bell housing, so you don't have to charge extra for that. And then, like I said, everything else is pretty much standard. I do have a box that it's all connected to, but you can just connect it all straight to anything that goes through the box. You can just hook straight into your positive side of your battery. So first thing, you'll need fuel. So I put 91 octane in it. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. Um, and then I have two hoses running through to the engine. So, to the fuel pump, because this is a mechanical, meaning it runs off the engine, not an electrical one. So the reason why there's two is there's one that's going into the inlet side of the mechanical fuel pump, and then the other side is to the bypass, because I needed this a fuel regulator, because when I first started it up and everything, the way that this Edelbrock carburetor works is it needs about pretty sure 6 to 8. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's 6 to 8 psi on your gas or your fuel pressure. And so I bought this fuel pressure gauge, so you'll need one of those. They're relatively cheap. I'll leave a link, but basically it'll show, and then you regulate it through that with the top of it, and you turn it. You need a fuel filter, relatively cheap on these, especially if you're going with if it's mopar, for sure. What I know, you'll need covers, because they're really close to the headers, and you don't want them burning. So I got these covers. I'll link those down. These are just hooker headers I bought cheap when I was younger off eBay. Those mufflers are from Summit, and ultimately I think they'll go on the car. So you actually, if you want it not to be really loud, you need to buy the mufflers, because when I first started this thing, it was like you're sitting beside a dirt track. I mean, it's not very good on the ears, and I want my neighbors to still like me. So another thing is I have uh, a uh, this running off into one side of the engine to the valve cover, and then this side is just a filter. You don't want them. You have to kind of do that to make sure it doesn't vapor lock. I don't really know exactly what the diagnosis of that is, but I didn't want to run into that, so that's what I did. This is a 12,000. I don't even remember. It's a Holley distributor off of eBay that I bought probably for like 150 bucks. And yeah, runs pretty good. It just has not like the old system where you have to have a ballast resistor. This is just straight from here to the coil, straight to the battery. No big deal. This is a 750 CFM carburetor. I've had problems with it. I had one time where one of the last times I was starting it, it was leaking here, and I just kept going, and then it went on fire. And I'll show a video of it in the background where you can see the smoke. So you got to be careful. But basically, but yeah, CFM. Then I have a fan. I was running without a fan. I kind of prefer the fan. I need to have a smaller spacer, but basically then you got your radiator, bought off eBay, I think, or something like that, or Amazon, and I just have it wired to the cherry picker. So you'll need a cherry picker too, just in case this thing is to move, rotate, or whatever. I got it in there for safety measures because, like I said, I got like 2200 in this motor, so I don't want it falling. Not aftermarket. They don't make these anymore. You can't buy them offline, but Mopar Performance valve covers. I'm trying to think what else. So then I have a Harbor Freight engine stand. Like I said, they're about $100 now. And then I have the jacks. Those are a couple of jacks, and the front are actually holding it. Can't remember what brand those are, but they're a little bit taller than the Dakotas, so I'd recommend those. I think they're black jacks or whatever, black jacks, black max, something from Walmart. And then they're just holding to it because it's a lot of weight and it's gonna go down, buckle down, so I didn't want to deal with that. Okay, and then another thing you need is a light, timing light, and I'll show videos of how to use that, because I feel like there's not that many good ones out there, especially with this model. It's a Innova 3568, and it works pretty dang good. You can see the speedometer or how fast you're going. You can see you can adjust it to where it'll zero out. Like I said, I'll explain it later, but yeah. And then I have a spring. This is just a universal spring from Summit. Trying to think. Yeah, I just got it held up right here because I didn't want it sitting on here yet. Trying to think. And then I have that's for the light, timing light. Have a battery, and then I have a jumper, just a regular cheapo jumper to keep the battery good. Starter, a mini torque starter. So here's your solenoid, starter solenoid, and then here's your positive side of the battery. And then it gets really close to the block, but it works. I mean, I need to get me one that goes off the back. There's an adapter that'll go like here, and it'll be like right here, and then you can just put these down here instead of being so close, because I mean, you can barely fit anything there. I mean, my finger barely fits. But yeah, and then here's that adapter, so you don't need a bell housing. And then here's a flywheel from a 440 Source. That's the one I got. And so you need to be careful because there's two on there that looks the same, but they're not. And I bought the wrong one, so I bought the one for the Hemi. That will not work for 440. But yeah, so gotta be careful with that. The 440 is a little bit more expensive, but not very much. But like I said, make sure you get the right one. And then on mine, because it's a cast crank, it has a weight that I had to buy on eBay that like goes on the back of it, and I'll show you. The way you could tell is it'll say right here, it'll say on the front of this, it'll say cast crank, and also just this big huge one, and that means it's externally balanced. So it's balanced on the outside of the engine instead of the inside, which pretty much all the ones that were, I think, like 72 and back are internally balanced, so you ain't got to worry about the weight. But yeah, that's pretty much my setup. Nothing fancy, nothing. The box that I got, and I'll make a review on this too. But this Zalex, and it worked good the first couple times. But basically, and then whenever it's all hooked up, you turn it on. You turn this off, because if you got the battery, the wires from the coil, which those are two of them, you run them straight to the battery. The one that goes to the coil, you need to take off when you're not running it, because it will get hot. Not anything except for the coil itself. So the black part of that will get hot, and pretty sure it'll like mess it up. But so on this, you're able to like turn on and it'll have it hot, the coil, or you can turn it off, and then if you go to start it, it'll rotate, but it will not start, which is kind of good. Or you can just disconnect it from the positive side of the coil. No big deal with the battery, whatever. But yeah, and I've only ran this thing probably like 5-6 times, and I've had it like probably a couple years now, and now when I go to start it, it acts weak. It doesn't work and stuff like that. So not really happy about that. But anyway, the other parts is like oil. So on mine, I have a light, a dummy light, so it'll just show up, and show if comes back on when it's running, because it needs to start, and it'll turn off. And then after a while, if it turns back on, then you know your oil is bad. So you need to turn it off, or make sure you check it with a gauge or something, which people will say, well, you should have have it connected when you're running it and stuff. And I did have it ran. Hold on. I did have it set up to where I could read them. But like I said, when it caught fire, it caught right here, and it only got the oil sending unit wire. So I was kind of like, try to get another one. Then it like went through and it was bad. So I was like, whatever, I'll just run it with the dummy light. But yeah, because I already knew my fuel pressure was good. I meant my oil pressure was good. That's a Holley 12887, but that will not work for everything. If you have an electronic or electrical fuel pump, then you need to have a gauge that is completely different. Like it'll go higher. So mine's only 0 to 15. Those will probably go up to like 200 or so, because those electrical fuel pumps will be a higher PSI, which, whatever. I think that's it. So that's my setup. The only thing that I do have hooked up to these is I had the battery, which, like I said, it's whatever. You can have it on, have it not, it doesn't matter. This is just a kit I got from from Amazon, which I'll link in the bottom. And then I have a water temp, because on mine it's got a 190 thermostat in it, right here. And then so then this will get to like barely under 200, which some people don't recommend that. I mean, because I guess, especially nowadays, they run a little hotter, like 200, over 200. So that's just kind of on whatever you want to do. But yeah, like I said, that's pretty much the way that I set it up. And it's cheap, easy. And now I'll show you how to wire it, So, okay, so the way you wire it is, so you want to have, so this is the one I got on eBay, but basically, and there's not that many like people that are actually showing this, but, or at least not this style. So mine's a 2 reds, 1 yellow. So your yellow is your ground. Your yellow will go straight. This is just wiring everywhere, but basically it'll go. So here's your distributor. So it'll have 2 wires, and this is just a kit you get off eBay. And it's got two lines. So it's got a positive and a ground. And before any disclaimers, so you start working on this stuff, this is just educational purposes. So if you get injured, or whatever, it's not on me. This is just for your knowledge. If you're gonna try it at home, don't. But anyways, so here's your positive wire coming off the distributor. Then you have a ground wire coming off the distributor. So this ground wire goes to the yellow side of your your coil. Then your ground, or no, ground is black, will go to your yellow, and then red will go to the coil. And the coil has 2 wires, so this goes straight to your distributor. And then the other side goes straight either to the battery positive, or like how I do it with this box is there's a side that says ignition positive, so it goes straight to there. Now and then also you have your wire going, what is this called? I'll think of the name later, but this to the middle of your distributor. And then you have your other wires going straight to your spark plugs, and they go in, you have to have them in the firing order that of your engine. So if it's a mopar, big block, small block, or if it's Chevy or Ford, it'll be all different. So just look online about that. But you need to have it, and it doesn't matter with this kind of setup, with being a Holley or electronic distributor, as long as you get the firing order set right, it doesn't really matter. But it does matter top dead center and how you set your engine, just have it start immediately. But that'll be a different video. But like I said, firing order, and then run them, and then have your covers to make sure they don't catch on fire, and to your spark plugs, and then basically then you got your plumbing. So you got your radiator filled up with fluid. You got to the top, to the bottom. What else? The wiring. Then you got, on mine, and pretty much any car, you need to know what temperature the water's running. So I have mine set right here, and it's a kit. It all comes in that kit, and then it goes straight to your gauge. And then sometimes, normally, you'll have this side which comes in the kit, and then it'll run to anywhere on the engine that has an oil port. But on mine, it has 2 in the back. So I had it here, but like I said, now I have this dummy light, and I got this off 440 source. And then on mine, I ran it straight to the box. But it doesn't really matter if you don't have the gauges, then you can't really set up like this. But but this side will go to the positive side. Well, no, to the box. But if you don't have the box, then don't worry about it. But if I was you, I'd just get one of those, that kit right there, and then set it up that way. But for mine, it's for this light, the top light, oil, and it'll have a wire that says oil right here, oil. Okay, and then also with this kit is you'll have one that says distributor or alternator, not distributor, alternator, which mine doesn't have it, but so yeah, but if you had it, it would run off and then run straight there. And then grounding. So you need to have a grounding wire on your distributor, just anywhere on it, on the body, and then run it straight down. And you can either put it to the battery, negative, or you can put it to here, which I have it right here. And then you ground the engine, and I grounded it to the cherry picker, or to the stand. 2 grounds, because I mean, if you ain't got it grounded right, then your starter will not work. Another thing you could do is, just for an extra precaution, is you could put starter cables and just stick it on here, and then stick it to the negative side of the battery. And then right here, so you got bolts. With mine, I got these spacers, probably from Tractor Supply, I think, and or Amazon, I can't remember. And then I just put, I can't remember how thick these are, but you'll have to, mess with it. But basically, maybe I even had these in the alternate, or the kit for the front for the AC or whatever. But basically it's a spacer. So you get a bolt, linked it out to where it's going to be about, I mean, that kind of looks like maybe 3 or 4 inches. Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 inches. And then you put a spacer in there and as the size of the bolt, and then however it makes up, like I said, I can measure that in a sec. And then you just put them in there, and it's going to be leaning a little bit to, I mean, you kind of see the same way I have it. So it's kind of hard to set this up in here, but when it starts, it doesn't hit, and you don't want it to hit this or it'll be a mess. But it will work. It will work if you do it right. And it hasn't moved or anything, and every now and then I'll check these and make sure these are right, but I'll put a bolt here to make sure it doesn't move. This is the one I got from Harbor Freight. Like I said, about $100, I'm pretty sure, maybe less with a coupon. But yeah, there you go. And then I have a chain set in the top to make sure it doesn't freaking fall. That's pretty much all you need. So yeah. And if you just positive side and then the negative side, what the freak, negative side, and then you got working, so you'll know if it's working right, if it's got this on. You got these other ones are for the charger, which I'm not going to use right now. The way this works is, so it's got the oil light, you have a start, turn it off. Like I said, the starter doesn't really work all that well, but so what I do is right now, the way I'm doing it is I have the cord cable coming off the solenoid side, and then you just tap it on it and it'll start right up. The only difficulty I had is for a while there, I thought is my starter. So at one point I had my starter, I tightened this bolt too much and the stud will come up a little bit and make it not contact. Another thing is the starter. So this, because of the starter plate, and this, like I said, it's not very much, but you need this starter plate on, at least if you're doing it the way I'm doing it with the, so this is not 100% true. So it can either be a little bit farther out this way, a little bit farther in this way. So if it's a little bit too far out in, it'll have problems starting. It'll grind, stick. If it starts sticking, you need to move it. So either in or out or up or down. Another thing is, because like with mine, it kept getting stuck, and I was like, so it must be either the box or it must be the starter's bad. And then I started the starter and it would work fine. So the same problem I was having was it is the battery. This was too far in, then I had it too far out, and it was missing it. So it's barely getting it stuck in this tooth, and it was just rolling off. So like I said, you kind of got to work with this in and out. And then, like I said, my box went bad, so that's why I'm going like this. And so you have the same problems I did. Try to make sure that bypass it. If it works, then it works. But yeah, let's see this much I can run. Just gonna start it up real quick. Say real quick. Hold on. Gotta take this off. Then there you go. There you go. I just wanted to say, when I started it and I reviewed my footage, the audio sounded weird, so it runs fine and drives fine, whatever. But so I don't know why. I think it's the mic didn't pick up the engine running great and stuff like that. But anyways, the things I was messing with that you didn't see is I had this off, and like I said, when you have this off, it won't start. It'll just turn it. So you got to make sure that's on, and then you can start it with this box. But and then also, what else did I do? You got to squirt it. So you squirt it a couple times, and it'll fire right up. Obviously, without the thing on. But yeah, again, thanks. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and you can get your project on the road faster than I had to work out all these problems and stuff. But like I said, a review is just a flywheel, a starter adapter, a Harbor Freight engine stand, half ton, uh, some wiring for the carbs and for the coils and stuff, and then that's pretty much it. And then a timing light. That's all you need for this to work. And a cherry picker. Forgot about the cherry picker. It doesn't really matter what kind of cherry picker. You don't even really need it if you just put this up on a jack or something, or hang it from the ceiling. Like I said, you gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah, hopefully this will help you and make it look cool. Thanks for watching.